I need to rant about this book. Okay, so the entire first chapter is all about talking about her ass, and I was like, what's the point in that? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Sinag and welcome to other recent reads. First book that we're going to talk about in this one is Inspiring Dominic by Sherelle Green. And so this book actually has a very interesting premise or very interesting start in a book, because this series is actually a once upon a funeral series. And I think because this is the first book that I read from this series, but I think this one will involve around the, what do you call them, the siblings, or the siblings or the grandchildren of the head or patriarch of the family. And so in this one we have Dominic. So he's actually the first grandchild of, I forgot the name of the grandfather, but he's the first grandchild. And basically he was spending his life, or the majority of his life being the successor or the heir to their company. And so upon their grandfather's death or passing, he was tasked, or his grandfather asked him to live his life outside of their family and their family business. So in this book we get to see Dominic kind of be inspired again in terms of what he's going to do with his life outside of being the first child or first grandchild, and handling his family and his family's business. Enter Samara. So Samara and what's his name, Dominic, have actually met each other at the first part of this book, or before we knew that Dominic's father passed. We get to see both of them interact together in a bar. Samara actually has a secret that she doesn't want Dominic to know, or it is not a secret throughout the entire book, but I think it will be nice if you're going to this book without knowing it and just be surprised. Though it's not really surprising as much. For a better reading experience, or if you don't like really spoilers, I'm suggesting that you just go into it without knowing what Samara's role is like. But overall, I think this book heavily relied on the kind of fated mates or destiny. It's a contemporary romance, but the underlying thing that connects both of them is destiny or fate. So this is a perfectly okay book for me, and I am really looking forward to reading more from this author and from this series, because this premise is very interesting. And aside from that, we get to see Dominic's best friend here. His best friend has a very interesting kind of a story. I would love to read his story, because in his one naman, he basically was married to this woman, Evelyn. He discovered that she was cheating on him. Actually, Dominic don't likes Evelyn, because she actually tried to cheat on his best friend with him. He'll be much more annoyed if you read this book, because this one really gave you the reason of their divorce, like what happened. But I'm going to leave that up to you when you read this. So I give it 3 stars, and it's perfectly okay. It's a perfectly okay book. So the next book that I have finished, Alien in Charge by, I forgot the name of the author, I'm so sorry, but you can see their name here because I'm going to post a cover naman here, so you just look at that. So anyway, this one naman is about Kiyomi and Jehan. So Kiyomi's name is very cute for me because it sounds like Guillaume, and this one actually has three of my favorite romance tropes. So it has second chance, bodyguard, and fake dating. And I think all of those tropes were weaved perfectly or smoothly in the narrative, but I think this one focuses more on the, or at least what attracted me and what made me finish the book is the macro plot. So this one kasi we have Jehan is the second shield of Jehar. So Jehar is their planet, and then the second shield means that he's kind of the second in command. And then Kiyomi is actually an ambassador or acting ambassador for the human or Earth Federation planet or Earth Federation organization. And actually both of them have met 15 years ago on their fleet academy. So it's like kind of a spaceship, what do you call this, piloting a spaceship. Yeah, so they had a relationship back then, but it's a secret because of different things. I'm suggesting you read this book to know why. And then so basically they have that, and then after graduating to that fleet academy, they separated their ways. And then here we are at the start of this book, they got together because there's a threat to Kiyomi's life. So since she's the acting ambassador for humans in this planet, there are forces or people who wanted to kill her for various reasons, which I suggest again to you read this book to know why, because it is a spoiler. But in general, I enjoyed the macro plot. Like, I really wanted to know what's happening between the politics, between the Earth Federation, and then the exploration team that happened, and then the Jihar people. I don't know what they're called. For me, the macro plot outweighs or outshone the relationship between our main characters. But despite that, I think their connection were established well, and I just love the trope combinations that we get to see in this book. And so I gave it 4 stars. It's very fun and it's very fast to read. Actually interested to reading more from this series because the next book in the series is kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling naman, and we get to see the main male character for that book in here because he is one of the what do you call this, brother of our main hero in this one, or our hero in this book. And so we get to see him interact with Luna the cat. So okay, so aside from that, I also wanted to talk about Luna the cat. So Luna is the cat, but I kind of want to have more page presence for Luna. Like she was barely there. Like though I know that Luna is not the main character in this one, that's why she's a very good side character, but I wanted more from her. So anyway, I just enjoy reading about books or romance with cat companions in there, as someone who has her own cat companions. I enjoyed this book and I actually recommend it. And yes, I wanted to read more from this series as well. So the next book that I have finished reading is Restored by Christina C. Jones. So okay, so this one is actually the third book, I think. I don't know if it is the last book, but it is the third book in the eternally tethered series. The author's note, it is said that this one should not be read out of order. Impatient, I just want to dive into this book na. So I didn't read any of the previous books in this series and just go along with it. And to be honest with you, I am quite surprised and I'm happy to say that Christina C. Jones's writing style is really great, because in this one, even though I don't know much about the world or anything, it was a pleasant surprise to see and to know what this is all about without basing what I've known about the world from the previous book. So anyway, this one is about Erin and Zaire, and this one actually is an amnesia romance, and I this is the first time that I've read an amnesia romance, and I'm kind of liking it. The angst is so good. When we got to the fantasy part, this is a fantasy romance, and so when we got to the fantasy part, I was genuinely surprised because why are they having magic and all of that powers? But I like the incorporation or the transition from contemporary to fantasy to contemporary, and it's just so good. This one feels like kind of a folklore or mythology to me, and I don't know, it has a very cozy vibes and very cozy atmosphere throughout the entire reading experience. And I loved how Christina C. Jones write the fantasy element in this one. It's very, what do you call it? It's very easy to read. It's not hard fantasy, and I don't know, it's just fun for me. So I'm really excited to read the first books in this series and see what they are all about. What I have gathered in this book by reading this book is that I realized how stellar CCJ's writing style is, and how she wrote just the right amount of information for us to know what's happening without feeling left out if it is in a series. So I highly recommend this one, and I'm excited to read the first books in the series. So yes, so this is actually a 4-star read for me, and I would love to read more as usual. So now talk about On Rotation by Dr. Sherlene Obuobi, because I need to rant about this book. Okay, so mind you, I just wake up and I literally read this book so fast because I just don't want to prolong the agony of what I'm going to say or what I'm wanted to talk about in this chat. So anyway, let's now talk first about the pros or what I like in this book before we go to the rant. So what I like in this book is the Ghanaian culture that was shown to us. So I am really not familiar with Ghanaian culture, and I appreciate reading their culture in this book. I really enjoyed as well the footnotes, how the footnotes is included in this book. Then the other thing that I enjoyed is reading about a book surrounding or following a what do you call this, a medical school student. I really enjoyed how the medical aspect was weaved into the story, and how we get to see Angie working as a student doctor. And I really enjoy that because in other books we get to know that they are doctors or healthcare professionals, but we don't see what they really do, because as someone who kind of wants or is eyeing to be one of the healthcare professionals someday, I really appreciate seeing characters perspectives towards their profession. And so that's all I enjoyed in this one. Let's now go to my rant. This is not the first book that made me feel this way, but the thing is, I coming to the halfway point of this book, I feel like I don't want this to end as a romance, because as we know, romance endings usually are happily ever after or happy for now, and I don't want that for this book. That's it. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, because I haven't read any reviews of this book yet, because I just picked this up and I literally just finished reading this book. But this one I wished was more of a general fiction or women's fiction. This one definitely feels like a women's fiction than a romance. But let's talk about what I dislike one by one. So first, this one I like in this book, but I think other people will dislike it is the constant pop culture references. Like, there's a lot of pop culture references in here for different what do you call this, for different shows or movies, like Avatar, Pokemon, what else, Game of Thrones. And I think it dated this book because this is going to be read in the future by people or readers who don't know these pop culture references, which, to mind you, some of the pop culture references in this one I don't know personally. And so I think that would affect the reading experience, especially during the first parts of this book, because it is heavily relies on that. And so that's a bit of a 50-50 thing in here. And then another thing that I don't like in this one is the first chapter of this book, which is, the thing is, in books, the first chapter should be the one that hooks the reader to the story. For me personally, I want the first chapter to be something that can represent or show to us what's going to happen in the next chapters or in the story, basically being a great connection or bridge from us not knowing anything about the book to the actual content of the book. And so the first chapter of this book is so weird because the entire first chapter is all about talking about her ass, and I was like, what's the point in that? Because upon retrospect, we never get to go back to that conversation, because I thought that maybe, because if my reasoning or if my thinking of what the first chapter usually means, maybe we're going to circle to that. But her ass, what she talked about in the first chapter was only mentioned once, and it is in passing only. And I was confused why the first chapter is like that, because I think the author could have written something that would hook us with the story, or something that relates to her medical experience, or maybe to her relationship with regards to the medical experience. But why are we talking about her ass? And it's just so confusing to me and weird. And to be honest with you, if I was going to just read the first chapter, like for example, try a chapter video or something like that to decide whether I will read that book. If this book is included in that, I will definitely not read the entire book na, since that first chapter is so confusing based on the premise of this book, because it is so different. And I don't know, I just find it weird and I don't like it. Anyway, so the thing is, this book is a single POV romance. So we only get to see from the perspective of Angie. So Ricky, we don't know what he's thinking about. And so this is the reason why I always wanted for my romance to be dual perspective, because I wanted to know what our love interest in this one, what Ricky is thinking, because it's hard to root for me reading someone in a relationship. It's hard for me to root for all of the parties involved in that relationship if I don't get their POV, or if I don't know what they're thinking about. Because in this one, if we're going to look at Angie's perspective, or how Ricky is portrayed in Angie's perspective, Ricky is basically a walking talking red flag. And personally, that's not something that I want my hero or love interest in a book to look like. And it frustrates me a lot, because I feel like there's no growth in both of their characters, like especially Angie, because she was the one that we're established with, that is our main character. And so I cannot root for their relationship together, because I feel like Angie is always the one compromising, and she is, I don't know, she's being dumb and naive, but she doesn't deserve it. But anyway, Okay, so let's talk about their characters for a bit. So Angie, she's very naive and dumb for me, and to be honest with you, it's kind of hard to read her sometimes because I don't she's very emotional, and she can distance herself to Ricky. Like she was pushed a lot by Ricky. Like I think 3 times she was pushed away, and yet she still keeps on coming back on him. And I don't know, like, girl, if he showed his true self to you once, that's his true self. You can't change it. And the fact that he continues to feel like he's playing games on her is kind of infuriating to me. And the thing is, she always keeps on calling him out about that, like, why are you playing games with me, why can't you commit? And every time Ricky always deflects or always distances himself from her, and she just accepts it, and she just accepts every time he comes back. And I was like, girl, why are we not learning things in here? Like, you have experienced this thing before from your ex-boyfriends. Why are you still continuing this shit? And I was like, why? In the end, that she was still basing her life on others, like, because she is going to match, because she's a medical student, so she needs to match for residency. And basically she's still, what do you call it, she's still basing her life, her residency, her going to pursue her dreams on what Ricky is doing. Or I don't know, it's so confusing and it's annoying to me because she's very heavily dependent on other people, specifically on her romantic relationships with regard to her life. And that's not it in this world. Like, we come out because we are individual, we have our own thoughts, we have our own perspective, we have our own feelings, we have our own careers that we wanted to pursue. And I feel like she was too dependent on other people with regard to her life, and I don't know if she knows it, but I think she's not ready for a romantic relationship yet because she still has a lot of things to resolve for herself. And in this one, I feel like Ricky was just taking advantage of her, and Ricky in this one is so an embodiment of red flag for me. And I and the fact that her friends, Angie's friends, were pushing her to him still, despite knowing his history and his patterns. I don't get it. Why are you pushing your friends toward a red flag? It's annoying. And even her mother whom I trusted to at least guide her, or at least offer a much more realistic scenario or much more realistic situation, also rooted for Ricky. And I was like, why? He's not even worth rooting for. Anyway, I was so disappointed with this book because I feel like both of them should not be together. Here's the thing, I think Ricky is a Pisces, and as a Pisces myself, I recognize his being an embodiment of red flag. And I recognize his being wishy-washy, and and cannot commit for the sake of his life. Anyway, and then I think Angie is very Cancer. Like, she's very into her emotion. And to be honest with you, Cancer and Pisces are definitely not a good what do you call this, or compatible signs when it comes to romantic relationships. And so I think both of them are just not in the right time with regard to falling in love with each other. I think overall, so let's now talk about my overall experience with this book. So for me personally, my dislikes, or the one that I mentioned I dislike the most, outweighs the ones that I like, because at the end of the day, the writing is good, so I'm going to add that in the what do you call this, in the like section. But at the end of the day, even if I like the writing, if the story isn't jamming with me, especially the characters, it's hard to give this a high star rating, and I'm not even attempting to give it a high star rating. So this one actually is going around 2 or 3 stars for me, depending on what's going to be my further reflection of it after I do this video and I write the Goodreads review. And yes, so my conclusion is our heroine Angie was not ready yet to go in a relationship, because she still has commitment issues, and she's very dependent towards other people. Like, okay, I wanted to mention this, that when Nia, her best friend, moved out because she is going to move with her partner, Angie was very devastated, and she feels like basically what she showed to us on page, it basically feels like after a breakup. And though I can understand, because I think friendship breakups are much more harder than romantic breakups, but the fact that she depends her day-to-day life on her best friend is so indicative of who she is as a person. Like, she don't have much of a backbone. I'm so sorry to say that, but she doesn't have a backbone in my perspective, and she always depends on other people. She don't have the emotional capacity to be with herself first, like focus on herself. She always need other people to give something to her, or to motivate her, or to just be with her. And I think that's not right, because even though that I know that we are social beings, we should be interacting and communicating with other people, I don't think that we should always be like that. I think that we should always learn how to be in touch with ourselves, and basically enjoy our time alone. I believe that we should have at least some time alone with just us, without other people. So anyway, aside from that, okay, Ricky as well is first of all, the reason before they even got together, Ricky emotionally cheated on his current girlfriend with Angie. And I don't know, for me, this situations or this behavior of Ricky is very indicative of his not committing to Angie, and which if we see, and it's so annoying because they should not be together. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to give it 2 stars, because this is pitched as a romance book, and I didn't buy the romance. I never want them to be together by the end, or if they're going to be together, I want this book to have a commentary about dependency and commitment, and I didn't get that in this book. I feel like Angie compromised a lot, and Ricky did not learn anything. Angie didn't learn anything as well. And I don't know, I think the side characters has more sense than the main characters in this book, and I don't it's so annoying, because this is supposed to be their book and they're just anyway. So I think I'm giving it 2 stars, because the romance isn't it, and the main characters are also not it. And I don't know, I enjoyed the first parts of this book, but as we go along, I am questioning myself continuing reading or following Angie, and I just don't. But here's the thing, I think I would want to read more from our author, because her writing style is very easy to read and compelling. But I wish there will be less to none of the pop culture references in her future books, and I hope that the characters will not be as dumb as the characters in this one. So anyway, that's a very long rant, and I hope I was able to what do you call this? I was able to express myself or my thoughts well and clearly, because I am disappointed, and to be honest, I expected to love this book, if not love, at least like it, but the way that I'm feeling right now, it's very disappointing. And I don't know, maybe it's just me because I hyped it up on my head. But I'm still going to read books from the author, and I recommend this if you want to read about a med school student, but there's no guarantee that you're going to like it if you have the same taste as mine. Because if you after watching this video feel like our reading tastes are opposites, then maybe you're going to like this more. But if you have the same as mine, then I'm not I'm not saying that I'm not recommending it, but you do what you do. Please comment it down below pala if you have read this book and what are your thoughts about it, because I genuinely wanted to know if we have the same thoughts, whether regarding the ending, whether she needs to be in a relationship or not. So let me know your thoughts about that. And yes, that's it for this update. Hello everybody, so this is going to be the end of this video. So I thought I could read 2 more, but I realized that the clips for this it's not a vlog, but the clips for this recent read is kind of nearing an hour mark na, and I don't want to edit an hour long video, so we're going to stop here. And yes, I think it's still successful. I think it is still successful because we get to include 3 books in here, and I just wanted this to stop. To be honest with you, I don't know if I'm going to do this kind of recent reads again in the near future, because I was not feeling it. I just realized that I was not feeling it, and I think that's a good thing to know or to came into conclusion about while doing these videos, because at least I'll know what I wanted to do. And to be honest with you, I am kind of experimenting because I'm still a newbie booktuber in here, so I'm just finding my place, or I'm just realizing or finding the things that I want and don't want to do, or what interests me. And I don't know if I wanted to do a dedicated book review video or going to compile all the books that I just wanted to talk about, because even though I love reading, I don't love talking about all of the books all the time and dissecting them. All of the books that I have read and I am going to read, I'm going to always have a review of them on Goodreads. But this kind of video review, it took it took so much time in me and brain capacity, and I need to always translate my thoughts into words that will be easily understand by everybody. And basically I have I have a high standards when it comes to video reviews, because I feel like I'm still not good at it. I'm still not good at translating my thoughts into words, and having brevity and being concise. And I think I do a lot of tangents while in the middle of doing a review, and so it took so much time for me to do a review every time, and that's why it's very long. And I'm still practicing. I'm still practicing on what's the best review style for me. And I don't know, I'm just going to listen to what I wanted at the moment. I'm just going with the flow. I'm a typical Pisces. I don't want to plan. I don't want to plan when it comes to these things. Like, I just wanted to just flow with it and see where it will take me. So anyway, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next or future videos to come. That's all for me today. Bye bye.